Hi, this is John from Sharp Mountain Games, and today we're taking a look at Warriors of the Red Planet from Night Owl Workshop, which is OSR John Carter of Mars. So here's the book, Warriors of the Red Planet, by Al Crombach and Thomas Denmark. Thomas Denmark did most of the illustration, and Al Crombach did the writing. And you can see it's about a 6x9 book, so it's a very nice little book, and it's from Night Owl Workshop. So let's take a look inside. So all of the illustrations are black and white, but they are really nice. I mean, like surprisingly good for independent publishing product. You know, easily this could be in a comic book or something, I think. So Warriors of the Red Planet really is channeling Edgar Rice Burroughs, John Carter novels. And it's very much classic OSR, built on basic D&D from the 80s. Here's your ability score bonuses, which again are identical to the D&D ones from the 80s. And it gets into races. So there's the Ancients of Mars, the last of their civilization. The elevated, and then it gets into exotics. So these could be different aliens, and you can pick and choose what you want, or you could roll. If you want, you could roll a d12. So do you have 4 arms? Can you breathe water? Do you have night vision? Human, and there's even option for playing unliving characters. And one thing I just want to mention about all the art, you can see a little bit of it here, maybe not super big, but obviously, in Edgar Rice Burroughs' Martian novels, nobody wears a lot of clothes. But the artwork in this book is done very tastefully. It is not overly sexualized in any way. And I personally appreciated that, where, you know, that's fine, that you're looking at the beauty of the human form, but you're not making it too over the top. So here's the character classes. So you have your pretty standard fighting man, which is just a fighter in any edition of D&D. Your scoundrels, who are your thieves, and they get some skills. Another way that this is very OSR, it says a lot of times for the thief skills, they just do it. If it's a fairly easy task, they ought to be able to pick the lock or pilfer. But then you can set some difficulty numbers. So although it's old school D&D, they are using rollover and add your bonus, which I think is nice if people are coming from anywhere from 3, 4, or 5e to D&D to a game like this. Now, your mentalists are kind of a combination of your magic user and your cleric. I mean, they really are more of a wizard, but they do give them some healing spells because there isn't a separate cleric class. And interestingly, and kind of unique to this, is the scientist class. And they do a lot of similar things that the spellcasters would do, your wizards would do, but they do it with gadgets. And you can buy some equipment, just everything is standard here. And then here's your mentalist powers, which is basically just your spell list. And let's see how far they go up to level 6. And then your scientist gadgets also go up to level 6. So again, they're really acting like spells. Oh, and there are a few healing ones in here, like there's a tissue regenerator. So if you don't have a wizard in your group, you might be able to do some of that with your scientist class here. And then they give you a whole list of them, you know, just like, again, they're acting more like spells than necessarily just simple equipment. Gives you a sample character generation and how to play the game. And some adventuring advice for adventure design here. So you can do underground adventures or urban adventures. So it gives you some suggestions. And then your referee section, which is really how to run the game. Traps and falling and light and rest. And it's pretty standard combat. If you want to hire a hireling or to go along with you, you know, an NPC. Saving throws. And gives you an example of play. So all of this is very, very old school, and they're doing it in, you know, the first 50 pages of the book here. Also, if you are playing old school, he gives you a lot of options, or they give you a lot of options. They say, okay, here's how to do it with ascending armor class, you know, from 3rd edition onward. Here's how to chart to do it with descending armor class. And if you want a THACO or a target number type chart, if you like that from 2nd edition D&D, it's in here. And then here's your saving throw tables. They're a little different because, although you don't have magic spells, so you'd save versus mentalism or save versus explosions or energy, they just rename them for a science fantasy kind of game like this. Oh, another nice piece of artwork here where they're fighting against some monsters. You have your human fighting alongside your pretty standard Martian, who was, I think, Tars Tarkus in the original books. Then they give you some adventure thoughts. Do you want to play episodic? Do you want to play in the wilderness? This is a nice section, too. They do give you monsters. And the good thing about these monsters is you could easily import them into another game. So, and some of them you can see they are taken from other games. So here's one, the Aradel. And that really looks like an Umber Hulk. I like this one. It's kind of a poisonous frog with tentacles. I might steal that. I like this guy. He's kind of a goggle-eyed head thing. And then he goes around on his steed, which is sort of a body that the head rides upon. I think that's kind of cool. So there's some stuff in here that I'm definitely thinking about stealing for my own, I shouldn't say stealing, but using in my own, even in my fantasy campaigns. The eye biter, ooh, that's pretty nasty. And they get quite a few of them. I mean, this isn't just like 10 monsters. I don't know exactly how many are in here. And they do get into, things more specific. So your servant girl on Mars or the assassin from Mars. And let me flip ahead a little bit here for you. So you can see a lot of monsters. Then it gets into the races of Mars. And again, these are pretty standard from Burroughs' books. So if you're familiar with that, those books, you're already familiar with a lot of this, but it's kind of nice to have as a little reference. And here what we're getting into is some random tables. I shouldn't be going so fast. So what kind of encounters might you have? And what you might find out in the ruins or in the wilderness, what sort of relics or anything, settlements, and, random adventure generation. So there's a D12. Rescue the princess or noble or merchant, explore a location, infiltrate a location, steal an item. All pretty standard, but a quick roll or a quick glance at this might help you out if you're stuck for something. Here's some weird science stuff. So this is kind of like magic items that you would get, or magnetic boots or insulated boots or psychic amplifiers. So some things you could easily port over into another game or, of course, use in this game. And then they give you some special sorcerers, like a sorcerer class. This is an extra class that you can add if you like. And they give you a spell list here for that one, too. Now, they do give you some fairly simple, but, and also skills. If you want to put skills in, they talk about how to do that. And for that, they're using the old school, do you have a 1 in 6 chance, a 2 in 6 chance of a particular skill? Then they give you ship-to-ship combat, because there were airships in Burroughs' books, or if you saw the John Carter movie with the flying ships. And they're fairly simple rules. They're not super detailed, but I think that that's good for these kind of games, because you really do want to focus more on the characters than, the minutia of the ship-to-ship combat. If you really want that, you want a war game. That's my opinion anyway. Only my opinion. They give you some airships like 1-man and 2-man flyers and dreadnoughts and battleships. Some of these remind me a lot of the Spelljammer ships too. Now this one I thought was really neat. There's an Appendix N, which is exactly like, I believe it was in the original Dungeon Master's Guide, with suggested reading. And of course there's all the Edgar Rice Burroughs Mars and Venus novels listed. But there's also novels by people I've never heard of. Some of them like Robert Howard and Edward Hamilton, Gardner Fox. But there's some here that, and quite a few. I mean, I don't even know how easy it would be to track all these down. But, if you're interested in this, it's a great reading list, certainly some of them. And then here's your map of Mars. And it does give you an index. And ends with a nice little quote from Edgar Rice Burroughs. So let's wrap up and talk about who should buy the book. If you're a fan of Edgar Rice Burroughs, especially the John Carter novels, this is a really nice source book. Even though it's unofficial, it's still great. And I think those books are now in the public domain anyway. So it talks about all the different races of Mars and the peoples of Mars, and gives you a map. So it's a great reference book if you like those. And if you didn't like the Disney movie, I wasn't crazy about it either, but the books are still pretty good. Also, who should buy the book is if you're a fan of OSR rule systems. The rules presentation in the book, just the layout and the way it's presented, are really nice. It's really, really streamlined. It shows that you can have a role-playing game in, just a few pages, that you don't need tomes and tomes. So it's really nicely presented. I have a couple other books by Night Owl Workshop, but I actually think this is the best in terms of their rules presentation. And also, if you're a fan of OSR, you can easily mine it for ideas. I think the airship combat rules are great. If you wanted to run something in just a traditional fantasy setting, sort of like Spelljammer ships, these are really simple rules that you can use. You don't have to learn a whole lot of new subsystems or bring in extra spells. So that's one thought. And also, it gives you a lot of monsters, and they're sort of different, or they're reskinned, so your players won't expect them. And there's random tables for adventure design. So check out the book if you're interested. If you want a print edition, as of the time I'm recording this video, it's $15 on Lulu or drivethrurpg for the print edition. If you just want to buy the PDF and print it out yourself or read it digitally, it's $10 for the PDF, and that's on drivethrurpg. And if you'd like to check out the titles from Sharp Mountain Games, you can see our 2 in-print adventures, The Dwarven Pickup Truck and The Sky Tree, at Amazon, Lulu, or drivethrurpg. You can also check out our digital titles, which include adventures, map packs, new character classes, and character cards, and they're at drivethrurpg or the Roll20 Marketplace. Wherever you like to shop, odds are that we're there. So you know what to do. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All the links to our products are in the description below. And thanks, and we hope to see you again soon.